Welcome Strategy Battle Games to the GBHL YouTube video. You're here with your host GBHL Damian, and I'm here with another one of my hobby vlog tactics, painting tutorials, unboxing type things that I've done a few of. You may remember that in the past I've done one of these for Alfred, and I've done one of these for the Ogres. And today I'm going to be doing it for, not particularly very exciting boxes, but Gundabad Trolls. So these are the two new Gundabad Trolls from Forge World. They've been out for about a month now, I think, maybe a bit more, can't remember to be honest. And the point of this video, how it's going to work, is I'm going to unbox them and show you how all the parts are made up, the various bits and bobs you get in the kit. I'm then going to assemble them, clean them up, paint them, hopefully, and then kind of have a chat about the profile at the end. Give you some idea, it's currently Thursday the 25th of May, and I am hoping to take these to a tournament on Saturday the 24th and Sunday the 25th of June. So I'm hoping to take one of these to Sandpage, it's not Sandpage actually, it's Kristan and is it Tom Seeker or Craig Harrison who's TOing it, I can't remember, but it's a Rivenstead event. I'm planning on taking one of these to that tournament. So I've basically got a month. I've got a month to paint this guy, one of these guys up, which is quite the arse given the rate I paint, to be honest, and everything else, all the exciting stuff going on in my life with having a baby and work and everything. But that's the plan essentially. So you'll obviously, whatever's happened, you'll watch this video as one thing. But I'm now looking forward to about a month's time when hopefully at least one of these trolls will be complete and I'll have something cool to show you. What I'll also then like to do is I'll finish the video after the tournament to be able to talk about their profile with a bit of experience, I suppose, having played some games, and see how they perform within the game. So yeah, that's the plan for this video. It's going to be various updates over the next month as I get stuck into some Gundabad Trolls. So with that in mind, let's go and unbox these and see what we got inside. Okay, so here we go. I have the two trolls ready to get unboxed. We've got the Gundabad Troll with Scything Gauntlets and the Gundabad Troll with Crushing Club. So these are the boxes. Fairly standard Forge World boxes for the new Hobbit stuff. No kind of individual artwork on these, but doesn't really matter. It's not something that particularly bothers me. And here we go. What have we got in here? We're starting with one with the Crushing Club. So we get the Forge World guide to building resin miniature kits, various tips and things about cleaning up and preparation there. And we get the instructions. So here he is, Gundabad Troll with Crushing Club, rawr, and lovely little instructions. So again, as with the ogres, the arms go onto the shoulders, the hands go onto the wrists, head goes onto the neck. Pretty standard anatomical construction. Doesn't look like you're going to get too many parts, so it shouldn't be too complicated. And of course, the main event, the big exciting part, the troll. Here he is. And a lot has been made about the size of this kit. So this kit is £60, so it's fairly expensive, certainly compared to old trolls, but this is a big part of it. This is what you're paying your money for. An 80mm base. So these are big trolls. 80mm base is bigger than normal 60mm because these trolls are bigger than normal trolls. So here he is. Here's the body component. The body component of both the trolls is exactly the same. So the idea is basically that to enable us to have both kind of war gear options relatively soon, and to allow Keith Robertson, who sculpted this, to then I guess move on and work on other projects, they came up with this cool way of just using the same body, changing the arms and heads, which I'm in favour of. I think they look different enough. So here is the massive body. You can sort of see the size of it in my hand essentially. That's how big it is, and they are big, and it feels good. It feels chunky. It feels like a big solid bit of resin we got here. But you can sort of see the detail on here. Lots of lovely detail on all those chains hanging down there, and the buckles in there. Lovely, but it seems like it's a relatively simple paint job in that you need to be able to paint a few things relatively well. This guy's basically armour and skin, so if you do those things well, you are laughing. So there we go. Got his large body piece. Let's go to this next, which is his little foot. Little baby foot. So I always find it interesting kind of quite how and why they cut different bits up. Like, I have no idea why that foot couldn't be on there like that foot can, but then I'm not a sculptor or a chopper upper. So what the hell do I know? But there we go, lovely little foot. We've got his arms. So this is his right arm. A right arm piece. It's got a join for his hand, which I know is gonna frustrate me because I'm really bad at green stuff in gaps in like wrists like that, so that'll cause havoc. More of these armor plates. See little bits, this is the kind of stuff you have to clean up in Forge World, these little rivets down here, but there's just nowhere near the stuff you have to clean up in with Finecast. I've already done a few bits and bobs with Forge World stuff like Dane and the Iron Hills Dwarfs and the Ogres, and the clean-up job is just so much nicer. There is the eponymous Crushing Club. Looks very much like the Club of the Ogres. 3 fingers and a thumb for these trolls. Really, really cool detail on the fingernails. That's the benefit of these guys being so big that you can really see what they can do on the fingernails. Ooh, what toenails, I wonder. What sort of detail have we got in here? Yeah, you can see you've got a similar sort of thing going on in that. Lovely, lovely, lovely stuff. Crushing Club, and here's his other arm, sorry. Very, very similar, just the other one. And as you see, really, really, very, very little to actually clean up. I've noticed, I'm sure I said it in the other videos, that mould lines on the Forge World stuff are almost a thing of the past. You can see there is just one there which would need removing, but there doesn't seem to be these giant lines going down the armour or anything, which is great. It actually makes I hate cleaning models up. It makes the cleanup process a whole lot easier. And this is cool. You got your thing from the Addams Family, a little loose hand. Again, with really cool detail on the fingernails. Again, very little clean up to do on that. And finally, you've got his head. This big armoured head, which is straight out of the movie. Very, very, very cool. They're just so cool, these models. They look great. The heads, I believe, are interchangeable, which brings me to an interesting sort of point, which I'll actually talk about when I've got the next one out. So there is our Troll with Crushing Club. I'm going to show you these in more detail once they're actually fully assembled, but you can see now at least the parts that he comes. So I'll get this guy out of the way and dig into the Troll with Scythe Gauntlets. Okay, so here we go. I've jumped on ahead and actually taken it out of the box, hope you don't mind. We're now on to the second Troll, which is the one with Scythe Gauntlets, which is incredibly cool pose. Let's get stuck into here. So, what's the same? We have the same base. Pop this up there, shall we? There we go. We have the same 80mm base, very handy for putting the model on. We have exactly the same body piece, as you see. The same. This troll is my troll, this troll is your troll. And other troll based songs. Which also means this little foot is exactly the same. But after that, I believe, it will all be different. Yes, it looks that way. So, first up, we've got a couple of arms. Again, similar to the other ones, but with this big flat bit along here, which is obviously where one of the scything gauntlets will go. Yeah, the buckles look cool. The cool thing about this, working on models like this, is that you get all the normal bits, like you do on normal models like fingernails and buckles, but they're all scaled up, so you should be able to do a really good job of them. So I'm really quite excited about doing these. Here's his right arm. Again, lovely, lovely detailing on the fingernails. Keith's done an awesome job on these guys. Again, just to reiterate how chunky they feel, they feel really solid, like a muscle definition on them. Makes them feel big. And we have these two pieces here, which are the Scything Gauntlets. Are these the same? No, they're not, are they? The sides are different. Yeah, and that bit there is different to that bit. Yeah, and that bit there is different to that bit. So I'm guessing they're actually kind of mirrored, aren't they? So they might be kind of around that way. So there's probably a correct order to put this on. Let's have a look. Yeah, you can see the difference here. So the instructions make it clear which one goes on which side. So that might well be important. So make sure if you're assembling one of these, you pay attention to which of these goes on. Massive kind of bladed fists. Bladed fists? They're just blades really. And these obviously can't put them on here because of the bit there, but they're gonna just pop on top of the arms like that. And finally, possibly the piece I'm most excited about is the head. Oh, yeah, that's clever. Okay, so this is the head, which I just think is fantastic. But it probably looks a bit weird at the moment. Because look, it's missing a lot of the face. So you've got the kind of, he's got tonsils. That's so cool, he's got tonsils. Not sure I've ever painted tonsils before. He's got a tongue in there. You see, his eyes are actually pretty small. His eyes haven't been scaled up hugely. He's got these tiny little troll eyes. So his eyes aren't going to be particularly easier to paint. But you can see that you get the features on there are awesome. And then what you also get is a separate mouth part, which it goes that way because that's his nose, doesn't it? So there's this separate mouth part with the teeth on it, which is incredibly cool. Let me think you can see in there the kind of gum detail. There's a little bit of flash inside there. And then of course that is going to glue on the front. Something like that. And what that'll do, because that's hollow, you get the real kind of depth going into his mouth. He's going to have like the tonsils right at the back, and then this kind of quite a way forward to the front of his mouth. So that's really awesome. Looking forward to that. I just really, really like that face. I think that face is just full of character and detail. It should be fun to really go to town on. I really enjoyed painting the ogre's faces, so looking forward to him. But the face, the location of the face is the issue that I was going to talk about on the old troll, and I said on the first troll, and I said I'd wait till this one, which is this is how they suggest you put them together. So we have troll with crushing club and troll with scythe gauntlets. But for my money, let me put them both in. I think that this guy's head from the crushing club is going to look better on this guy because they are the heads are interchangeable. So I think it's because the scythe and gauntlets guy seems to have more armour on with all these big blades. I think the armoured head will work better with that, and then this kind of bear head will work better with the kind of slightly more bear troll, I guess. So I'm going to go down that route. I know I'm not the first to do it. I know various people have swapped them around, but I believe I'll find out when I really start assembling them. But if we look at the back of this troll, look at the back of the head, they seem to have the same peg. They seem to both just have a square. So I reckon they will both just slot into there. I don't think I'll be able to. I think that one will fit on there. Oh, of course it will. I mean, they must be interchangeable because the body's the same, isn't it? They've got the same body piece. Yeah, of course they are. Brilliant. So yeah, that's my plan. I'm actually going to swap the heads over and assemble them the opposite way around. But yes, so there we go. Those are the pieces. Really, really cool. You get a lot of resin in these. They are expensive, but then we know that it's an expensive hobby, and the Forge World models are a premium. But I'm already quite excited about these. So next step, as always with Forge World resin, is I'm going to give them a wash. Hopefully you can see there's a slight shine on them, which is sometimes you get the releasing agent left on this. So I'm going to get some warm soapy water. I'm going to scrub them with an old toothbrush, and then I'm going to put these trolls together. I'll probably have to do some green stuff in on the gaps as well, I would have thought, but I will. I'll do that, and then once they're both assembled, I'll come back and hopefully show you the assembled models. But yeah, there we go. That is the Gundabad Trolls from Forge World kits. And here we go. I am back with an update because I have assembled both my trolls. And here they are. As hoped, the heads are swapped and it worked really well. And I think it's really cool. So here is the first one with the scything gauntlets. As you see, I've given him the armoured head. I think it just works, like with this, the kind of spikes here are then kind of mirrored in this one. I think it looks really, really cool. They're awesome. The clean-up job, as hoped, wasn't too strenuous at all. There's very, very little mould, very few mould lines. Very, very simple to do, and the pieces just, they snap together so well. I've done a bit of green stuffing, which we'll get to, but with all the kind of issues with like fine cast models in the past of having to bend bits to fit it in, and even metal models, the kind of gaps that you get when you assembled some of the old metal models that people are often keen to kind of forgive and forget. I've never seen anything go together as well as these Forge World kits. They just snap together so nicely. So that there was no need at any point for me to kind of bend anything back into position with the kind of Forge World with hot water or anything like that. And it also, for me, as I said previously, given how much I hate cleaning models up, for me the fact that you just don't have to clean them up nearly as much, it justifies the price a bit, to be honest. This might just be me, but I would happily pay this premium for this kind of product rather than the hell of cleaning up all those fine cast Mirkwood elves and Gundabads that I've talked about in my other hobby vlogs. But yes, there is Ogre first. As you see, green stuffing. There's a bit to do under here. I might file down some of the green stuff. I haven't done that yet, but I've put a little bit in where the head joined in there. Kind of put some in around the armpit to cover that join. I think I might have glued this scything gauntlet in slightly the wrong place. It looks cool, it suits fine, but there was a gap just in there in his knuckles that I filled in. A little bit of green stuff here where the arm joined. And then the main bit for reasons I'll get onto, not the main bit I suppose, but just in that join of the leg. There's a reason for that in a moment, which I'll show you. Now, with that, I don't think you have to do these. Obviously you haven't seen the kind of cracks that were there, but I'm sure a lot of people won't green stuff this, but I just really wanted to take my time on it. I figured that these are almost certainly the only two of these Gundabad trolls I'm ever going to own, so I figured I would, it's worth taking the time over. So I'm not very good at green stuffing, but like I spent a bit of time making sure that all those gaps were full so that I'll never kind of look back on this and sort of regret it a bit. And kind of regret, you know, why didn't I take a little more time? So there we go, there is the one with scything gauntlets, incredibly cool. And here's the other one, with the crushing club, with his new face, and just look at that face, it is awesome. So you see there's a bit of green stuff there that I've put in along where the kind of join is in his face. Just running down there, which hopefully will vanish once it's been painted. Again, green stuff around the neck join. A little harder to do on this one because he didn't have the helmet to cover it up. Exactly the same in the arm socket here. And these are the ones I'm really worried about that I think I mentioned actually in that unboxing, that this is the bit I'm terrible at. So I'm going to give these a little file just to try and make this bit look flush. But I'm awful at kind of covering up joins with green stuff around wrists. It's alright here where you can kind of like work it into the crack and kind of use the folds of the model, but wherever you just got to do a ring of green stuff. Some of you may remember my berserkers, I actually ended up making them these little like wrist warmers to deal with it. Again, green stuff in there, green stuff in there. So exactly the same places really. And he's cool. I like him. I like him with the club. I'm happy staring at him. Really happy with the kind of head swaps and how they look. And they feel chunky. They really do. They feel like big weighty bits of resin. A big solid solid lot of block. It doesn't feel flimsy. He's now feels like a big solid troll. It's kind of cool. So I mentioned in the last one that I'd mention my little tip about this. As I showed you during the unboxing, this foot here is separate to the kit. And what I found is that when I first tried it, I had the model off the base and I glued the foot onto the leg in the most natural feeling position, so I made it kind of really snap and fit flush. And then by doing that, what I found is when I then tried to glue it to the base, the 2 feet weren't both flush to the base. You know, one was slightly raised, which obviously happens in this sort of thing. And normally, again, maybe with the resin, fine cast, you just bend the feet a little bit. But it is a big kit, so I'm sure you could bend it. But I had an idea that I thought there'd be a better way of doing it. And what I ended up doing was starting by gluing this foot to the base. So I just glued the foot to the base on its own. Then I assembled the rest of the troll and then glued the troll to the base and the foot here. And by doing that I was able, because this one was already flush, I just put this foot flush and then put the knee in the best place it could possibly sit whilst keeping this foot flush. And that, what basically that meant was that there was a slight gap around the knee, which wouldn't be there if I hadn't done it. There's still a lot of contact in there to glue to hold it together, but you see there's a slight gap around the knee, which I just filled in with some green stuff. But I think it's well worth it to get this kind of flush feeling on the legs. Now I know some of you might say that you could just build it up, even if they weren't flush. You could build the base up around the feet with modelling putty. It's absolutely right, but anyone who's followed my Gundabad army will know these aren't the bases they will end up in. These trolls will eventually end up on Generation Shift Forgotten Dungeon 18mm bases, which will be hopefully coming out fairly soon. So I need at some point to be able to remove these trolls from these bases and know that their feet will be flush to put onto one of those Forgotten Dungeon bases. So that's why I did that, and I'm pretty happy I did it. So there they are. Here, those are my two Gundabad trolls, and I think they are absolutely ace. I know people like size comparisons, so here is a cave troll. He's a bit small compared to him. Poor little Diddy cave troll on a 40mm base. Remember when he was the biggest model in the SBG range? But what you do start to see now is like these kind of true scale trolls, which, you know, the Gundabad orcs come up to about here on them, and if you look at the movies, the Gundabad orcs come up to about here on them. Which is kind of cool. You're now having the kind of ability to produce these trolls at the scale that they're kind of intended to be seen, which is awesome news. So that's how he compares to a little cave troll. I'll show you the other one in comparison to an ogre. So here's Ophir, the Gundabad ogre. You've seen other hobby vlogs, and there's Ophir compared to a Gundabad troll. So again, the Ophir is about the same size as the cave troll. You can see that he's significantly bigger than him. But then, don't you know it, in the movie the trolls are significantly bigger than the ogres, so it kind of fits. So there we go. Now, my last decision, as I told you at the start of the video, is that my hope on this is to take one of these to a tournament in a month's time. And the question, of course, is which one? I'm almost certainly not going to get both painted. And even then you have to make a decision, don't you? And it's basically the difference in the weaponry. So we have the crushing club that does the D3 wounds, and the scythe gauntlets, which gives you +1 to wound in all combats. Now, what's quite interesting about this is since they come out, there's actually been a lot of debate. It's not a clear-cut decision. A lot of people seem to feel very, very strongly about one option or the other, which is an interesting thing to happen. And so the club D3 wounds would be awesome at killing heroes. But then the scythe gauntlets giving you +1 to wound is going to mean that he needs 2s to wound against almost everything because of his hugely high strength. So I actually think personally, because the scythe gauntlets will help you against heroes as well, but I think the scythe gauntlets might be the better option across the course of the game. The crushing club, of course, could suddenly win you the game in one go. You know, you win that combat against Dane, you get the 3 wounds and splat him in one go. Brilliant. But the scythe gauntlets, I think, will be the more reliable option to kind of just chew through troops throughout the game. So, whilst I think this will be the best option, I'm actually going to do this one because I really, really want to paint this face. I'm really, really excited about this. I got quite pleased with what I was doing with skin on my ogres. I'm back and pleased with how their faces came out, and I'm going to take the same colour scheme and do it for my trolls. I'm not going for the kind of blue trolls that the Forge World scheme have. I'm going to keep them these kind of like pale browns and creams albino, and I just really, really, really want to work up that face. Even though if I'm painting on a deadline, that one's obviously going to be a lot quicker. So I am going to start by painting this guy, and this is the guy that I will be hoping to take to Sam's tournament, or the East Riverside tournament, in a month's time. Obviously if I get them both done, absolutely brilliant, but let's be honest, that's almost likely to be a disappointment. So I think that'll do. That's the unboxing and cleanup process. Hope you're not too bored. Not sure really how long this has taken all told already. But I'm now going to start painting one, maybe both of them, and I will come back when I reckon one or both of them has had their base coats and shading kind of washes done on them, and we'll have a look then. Cool. So I am back with a bit of an update. It is now the 18th of June. I can't remember the last time I filmed a bit on this, but it's been a while ago. I haven't made too much progress up to now, but I have now made some progress because I have this, the base. Now, I'm not sure how much I talked about this on the early clips of the video, but basically, I should just grab one of my ogres here. Here's one of my ogres on a Generation Shift Forgotten Dungeon base. So you got the brickwork, the spiked plates, and there's probably a chain around here somewhere, and a chain there, and the little vines in here as well. So these are the awesome bases Matt does for as part of it, one of his Generation Shift base ranges, and everything in my Gundabad army is on one of these bases. Now, unfortunately, as of yet, Matt hasn't done an 80mm version of this base. So, knowing that I wanted it to fit in, I decided to have a crack at doing one myself. And I want to stress something very clearly, this is not my forte at all. This is very much outside my comfort zone. But here is my attempt at making it. So, this is one of the 80mm bases. You can see there's a couple of holes in there now, a small hole there, a big hole there that's been filled, more on that later. And this is how I've attempted to emulate it. Now what I did was I had one of these ones, which is a 50mm version of his base range, and I had it nearby to try and emulate the style, and this is what I've come up with. So how did I do it? Well, the everything orange you can see basically is milliput. It's a 2-part putty that I obviously made quite a lot of, mixed up quite a lot, and you can see it's about that thick, which I think kind of fits in with Matt's stuff the way it comes off the base. I think his is a bit thinner than mine. And then what I did was I carved all the brickwork into it, using a piece of plasticard to kind of make lines down here, and that slot big lines in so they stayed straight, and then a thinner piece of plasticard to make these lines. I was following a guide from Steve Crow, who he wrote a little guide about how he did his Dog Order bases for issue 4 of SBG, the magazine. And I was following that guide, and the key tip he told me was to use Vaseline, to essentially put Vaseline on the, he was using a knife at the time, but I put Vaseline on the plasticard to make it sure it didn't stick and it didn't drag the putty, and I've got to say that was a really, really great tip. So cheers for that, Steve. So yeah, I kind of carved all that up, and I also then pushed some tin foil in, as both Kev Spector and Steve again have recommended, and that gives the bricks this kind of texture, so they don't look all smooth or fingerprinty. I think that worked quite well. Then, once those kind of flat bricks were done, what I actually did, as you can possibly see, is I pushed a troll in. You see the footprints? 1, 2 toes, 3 toes, and here 1 toe, 2 toe, 3 toe. And I basically pushed him in so that he would have somewhere to fit. I was trying to make essentially a flush join, and as we'll see a bit later in the video, yeah, it's kind of worked, but it's not worked entirely, so that the troll would eventually sit there. I also wanted to make sure that I didn't put any of this stuff around his where his feet would go, essentially. So the next thing I tried to emulate were these metal plates that run all over Matt's work. You see there's a very distinctive style to them, they're very dog-ordery. So what I've done here is cut a piece of cardboard. It's just kind of slightly thick card, it's probably slightly thicker than cereal box card. And I cut strips of it to make sure they were the same thickness as Matt's. And then kind of laid them down across the base and kind of pushed them in. And then these bits here are dressmaker's pins. They're the heads of dressmaking pins. I've used dressmaking pins for a lot of scenery in the past, and they're really handy. And so what I actually did was push them through when the card wasn't on the base. So they were kind of had the pins were sticking through the card, and then I cut them with clippers so that they were only a few mil deep. And then I used them to essentially push it into the still wet putty, so they kind of held the bars in place as an inch measure, which I think worked really well. And I tried to do a couple of kind of overlapping ones here, and I even put a little bit in here that was going to be a base plate for the chain. So I did that on the same night I sculpted. I also then applied the chain, which is here and here, and that was again meant to emulate this chain. I think I've found something that is pretty similar in thickness, so you probably won't notice when it's on the table. Now, there was no way I was going to have a go at sculpting that, so this is a Primark necklace. I sent Emma into Kingston with the instructions to get me some kind of cheap necklaces that she wouldn't mind if I cut up. She definitely wouldn't mind because I paid for them. But she came back with a strip of 3 for £3, so I had 3 different thicknesses to choose from for £3. These are the equivalent of £1 each, which I was very happy with, and this one did the job brilliantly. And this little bit here was done by just one of the bigger links that was used to close the necklace. I kind of cut and put on there, which I was quite pleased with. So that was the chains, and the last thing were, to emulate were the little vines that Matt's got. You can see 3 of them there. And so these were then done the next day. Oh, actually, there wasn't. Sorry, there's one more bit, which is the mud. Now, me and Matt have actually talked about this at length. I think when he sculpted it, he intended it to be rock. But when I started painting my dog Gundabad, I wanted a slightly different colour on it. So I've painted these patches as mud. So that's what I was going for. And that's what I've got. So we've got this big patch here. And this big patch here. And that was again just a big pile of milliput and then kind of twisted and dented with the ends of plasticard, really. And then I deliberately had it kind of going over some of these plates so that it would give a bit of an impression of depth. And then, as I said, I did the vines, which were just done with green stuff, and just rolled them out, kind of thinned them out at the end, and dropped them onto the base. And I think they do a pretty good job of emulating Matt's, to be honest. And so there we go. I'm really quite pleased with this, how it turned out. I've never done anything like this. The bricks are too big. I know this. I'm very aware of this. That I think they started off quite well. Which side is it? So here, if we look at the bricks on this side, you can see that they're a bit thinner and they kind of get fatter as they go. And I think basically the device I was using to separate them, as you can see, the gaps are relatively thick, was a bit too thick. So if I ever have another crack at this, and I may do, when I get around to doing a base for Stumpy, if Matt's not done one yet, but I'll just try and make those bricks a bit thinner. Bricks a bit thinner and the gaps a bit thinner, just to tie them in a bit better. But I think, even from that distance, once it's painted, all the various paraphernalia bits on top should kind of cover up that discrepancy. That's certainly my hope. And so, yeah, that's what I've been kind of up to, which is quite cool. And now I'm going to paint it. I'll start painting it and getting all the bits, particularly in the middle, the fine detailing in the middle done before I put the troll on it, and it covers it all up. So there we go. That's my base. I'm pretty pleased with it. You might also be wondering what this hole is in for, and as you can see, it goes through a footprint and into the base, and that is for a pin for the troll to kind of hold him on with a bit more sturdiness. And I'll show you more about that when I show you the progress on the troll himself. So there we go. This is my troll's 80mm Dull Gauldor Forgotten Dungeon base. I don't think it will be putting Matt out of business anytime soon, but I was pretty pleased with how it came out. So there we go. And what I'm going to show you next is the current progress and state of play on the troll himself. Okay, so it's update time. I said I'd show you the troll next, and here he is. This is Trolly McTrollface. Should be making an appearance at return for Riverstead next weekend. So he has been based and shaded, and this is what we've got. We've got a strange thing coming out of his foot here, more on that later. Awesome model. Really cool to see all the detail on the face that the wash has brought out. So basically, the skin has been base coated Rakarth flesh, the club was base coated Mornfan brown, the straps were base coated Rhinox hide, and all the metal areas were base coated with lead belcher. And that's pretty much it. That's all. The loincloth was still Legion drab. That is pretty much it. That's all there is on this troll. There's just a lot of all those bits. So then what happened was I chucked a fairly liberal wash of kind of Rakeland flesh shade over the skin, and Agraxer shade over the armour, and Nuln oil over the club, and kind of mix some of those colours around to form this kind of base coat. and I'm now going to start working the highlights up. It's currently Monday morning. As you all know, he's going to a tournament on Saturday, so basically I have some time today, some time tomorrow, Wednesday evening, and some time on Friday, which might sound like plenty, but obviously that's not uninterrupted time based on like work and other things and my tiny little daughter. But those are the days I've got to work on it, so I'm hoping to put in a kind of good shift this evening and try and get some highlights done. And there he is. He looks pretty cool at the moment, and hopefully I'll be able to get him done. Kind of really prioritise him this week and make him look pretty cool. Also, in the meantime, since last time I showed you, I've done this. This is his base, which you last saw I think when it was completely orange. It's now been completely painted, except obviously this bit, but don't worry about that. As you can see, that's where his foot will go. So painted up in exactly the same style as all my other Forgotten Dungeon bases, and that is how that looks. I'm pretty pleased with it, to be honest. I think it will do the job nicely. So as you can see, there's this big hole through it, and it's going to be quite hard for me to show you this with one hand, but maybe, if I put this down here, is this going to work? Basically what happens here is these two paper clips are going to poke through this hole and slide down there and work as a pin to hold him in place. The idea with, I think I've talked about some of the stuff that I've been planning, was because I pressed his foot and planned ahead for this stuff that it would fit flush, and it doesn't quite, is the reality of it. So I'm going to have to kind of force him in there, glue him into place, and then probably do a bit of green stuff in around his foot. But that's the kind of the next step for what I want to do. I'm going to attach him now to the base and glue him. And whilst I say the base is finished, of course as I'm holding him, there's bound to be I'm bound to rub away some of this colour around the edge. But the important thing of painting the base first was to get the kind of details on those chains and vines and everything in the middle that I don't think I'd be able to get if I painted them whilst he was attached. So that's going to be the next step. I'm going to glue him onto his base and green stuff the areas around his feet, and then once that's all tidied up, I'll start highlighting him and just keep highlighting him probably until I put him in the case to take him to the tournament. And hopefully we'll come back when we've got some progress. Ta-da! And I am delighted to say that Trolly McTrollface is finished. So here he is. You saw him last when he was base coated and not attached to his base. And here he is in all his finished glory. And I have to say, I'm really, really happy with him. I can down just show you the bits. So the first thing we had to do, as I said, was attach him to the base. If we go and have a look in here, you can hopefully now see there's the how the pin's been bent round under the base just to really secure him. But hopefully it's not too obvious. I think if you know you're looking for it, you might be able to see. But in here, can we see the point where the original milliput ended and the green stuff is kind of joined it? I think you can if you're really looking for it. I think it's a pretty good job to kind of fill that gap and make it look like he's standing naturally on those stones, which I'm quite pleased with. And then around here on the back foot, same sort of thing. It's been filled in there. And that's pretty cool. So after painting him with all the base colours, I just kind of did exactly what I did for my ogre's skin, where I just used a mixture of Rakarth flesh, Eshin grey, pallid witch flesh, and I think Gorthor brown, and maybe Tuskor fur for a bit of pink to just keep chucking layers on. I think I did it about 4 or 5 layers, where I'd do a dark layer, a kind of shading layer, then I'd do a kind of light highlight layer, and then a shading layer, and basically I just have them really, really, really thinned down, so that as they go on, they still show the other colours below it, and hopefully they kind of give that kind of muscly, kind of almost seeing the muscles through the white skin. The armour, after you saw it washed, was then edge highlighted with Leadbelcher again, and then shaded with Agrak Earthshade, and then edge highlighted with Ironbreaker, and then shaded again. So you see that right on the edges of the armour you have got these kind of quite sharp, bright silver bits, but it's not too in your face, and it still looks quite nice and rusted. The loincloth was just I don't know, really Gauntlets brown base colours, I think, and then a selection of whatever other browns I just kept mixing and shading it with in my normal way. I'm really pleased with how the skin came out. Happy with the straps as well. They were kind of nice and easy to paint up. It was Rhinox hide up to Gauntlets brown, and then finally up to Karak stone for those. Again with the iron breaker highlight on the buckles. It came out quite nicely. And as I said in the earlier video, there's very little else. You know, it's armour, skin, and then just the straps and clubs and stuff. So if you can figure out a decent effect to get on your armour, which I humbly believe I have done here, and figure out a decent effect to get on your skin, then you're laughing. Here's his club. It was just this was just all dry brushing the club. Selection of different light browns. All the spikes were picked out, much the same I did my ogre. I was very pleased with how the fingernails turned out. I have this dirty and textured look to them. Can't quite see the ones around here, but they're done the same way. And the pièce de résistance, the face, which I was really happy with. See all the detail that you can get into that mouth, it's just fantastic. Incredible sculpt. Lots of different kind of gum pieces. And then loads and loads of character to get into his face. I really enjoyed it. He was really good fun to paint. It was one of those ones where everything just kind of felt like it went right. There weren't any frustrating unnecessary delays or anything like that. And I think he's come out rather well. So there he is. Trolly McTrollface in all his glory. And perhaps my best compliment I can give this guy is that I was really worried that he was going to be a bit of a slog to paint up, and you know, kind of quite frustrating with these big areas of skin, big areas of armour. But it was quite the opposite. I absolutely loved painting him. I'm really happy with him, and so my next project is almost certainly going to be either Stumpy the Troll Brute or the other Scything Gauntlets troll. I know I said at the start of this video, which was a month ago by the way, in case you're not keeping track. It is, not if you're not keeping track you wouldn't know, but it is now the 28th of June, so I've been working on this vlog for over a month, even though you're seeing it all in one kind of hour-long video, of course. But I said I might be getting both done, but I'm not going to get the Scything Gauntlets one done. I think it's enough that I've got one of these painted to show off on the vlog, and then I will do the Scything Gauntlet ones, you know, pretty soon. But yeah, both him and Stumpy are really high on my list now, because I'm really into painting trolls at the moment. I like doing the ogres, really enjoyed this guy, and then I want to get the other two big ones done as well. So yeah, they're definitely, one of those will definitely be next on my list. I think it's going to be Stumpy the Troll Brute. But there we go, there is Trolly McTrollface, who rode to war, I suppose he walked to war at East Grinstead last weekend as hoped. What I'm now going to do is finish these videos in the way I normally do, just go up to the sofa and have a little chat about his profile. And so here we are, that is the end of the hobby bit of the Gundabad journey, Gundabad troll journey vlog, and now we're going to turn to our beloved There and Back again. Still smells good, and check out the profile for the Gundabad troll. So, as I think I mentioned in the last bit, I have just got back from Return to Rivenstead, the tournament at the Dorset Arms pub run by Mid Sussex Wargames Gamers. Make sure you check out their YouTube channel. Really great event, and thankfully I was able to get Trolly McTrollface painted in time. He was finished at 3:45 on the day of the 3:45 AM on the day of the tournament. We got him done, and he went off to wage glorious war. So I've now used the troll in 6 games, and so we'll have a little chat about his profile. So first things first, he's 120 points, so exactly the same cost as 2 ogres, which is kind of interesting. Stat line: move 6, fight 7. He's got a 6+ shoot value, but he can't use it because he can't throw stones. Strength 7, defense 8, 3 attacks, 4 wounds, and 4 courage. So he's he's a good troll. He's definitely compared to Lord of the Rings troll, he's on the good side of things. He's kind of a Mordor troll, but he's got that extra wound and extra point of courage, which is really, really handy. And he wears heavy armour, but that's obviously taken account of in his defence. And you either choose to have the massive crushing club or a pair of scythe gauntlets. And I believe I talked about that a bit earlier in the video. He causes terror, which makes sense. He has ancient enemies, which is a really cool bonus, which is the same as the Gundabad orcs. So you can reroll ones when attempting to wound elves or dwarfs. Great against those heroes. And then he's got his weapons. So he can either choose the crushing club, which does D3 wounds for every wound inflicted, and that's before fate points. And any model that is targeted with strikes from a crushing club and survives is knocked to the ground on a roll of 3+. Any model. That's awesome. So presumably except Smaug and the Mummock, I think, are the things that can't be knocked down. Maybe the Iron Hills Chariot. Everything else, like your big beasties, are going to get knocked down by the club, which is awesome. And Scythe Gauntlets, on the other hand, add +1 bonus to strikes when rolling to wound. So your choice, your big choice when you pick your troll, assuming you've bought both of them, is which one of those you take. And I said earlier on in the video that I was heavily leaning, in theory hammer terms, I was leaning towards the Scythe Gauntlets, because the club is great for wounding leaders and monsters and heroes, but as soon as you're only fighting warriors, the club's of no use whatsoever. Whereas the Scything Gauntlets helps you in every single fight. There's also the kind of potential negative thing that you could, if you did a wound with a crushing club, you might then roll 1 for the D3 and still do 1 wound. So that was my kind of thinking. But having now used him for 6 games, and I used the one with a club, I think I've come around to the club. I think the club might be the way forward. I'll explain my thinking on that a bit. I think I found when I was fighting with a troll, either you were aiming him at your enemy's big targets, so like monsters, heroes, that kind of stuff, so the club was going to be of use anyway, or when he was fighting troops, in my experience, A, 3s to wound is probably enough, generally speaking, compared to 3s and 2s, but B, a lot of the time with a monster, you don't strike. It occurs to me, you either barge, or you rend one big model, or you hurl a lot. So you don't actually tend to make the normal strike as much as you might think you would, if that makes sense. And so, and particularly if you're fighting elves and dwarfs, you get to reroll the ones anyway when you do make strikes. So I think if I got to choose, and I obviously took the club because I had the one painted, but at the moment I think I'd take the club. I'll be interested to try out the Scythe on my Scythe Gauntlets when I get to him. So yeah, that's my current thinking on him. I think the club might be better because it makes him really, really scary. So I played a bunch of games with him. One of them he was playing Ring Race, and he achieved pretty much nothing. He got immobilised a couple of times, and the Harbinger of Evil, making him courage free, meant he failed a couple of courage tests at charge, so he didn't achieve anything else. One game where I played against Tom Maynard was a really interesting, weird kind of tactical game. I don't know if you'll probably see this before my journey vlog, but I've done a journey vlog for Return to Riverstead, so you'll hear more about it then. But it meant the troll didn't actually get into combat for the whole game. But then on some of the other games, he was great. So I played Luke in the first game, Luke Bruin, and he went steamed straight into an Isengard troll, where obviously he had the fight value advantage. But not only that, when he then rolled to wound against him, you're not guaranteed to kill the troll with a troll because you've only got 3 attacks. But he did 2 wounds on him, rolled the D3, and ended up doing 4 wounds with him because of his club, and killed the troll in 1. And instantly then I was like, oh yeah, I get this. So you can really, realistically, even with a big troll, if you're striking normally, you can only really count on 1 or 2 strikes. So that's 2 wounds normally, and that isn't enough to kill most things. Whereas as soon as you got the club, it then almost insta kills heroes. He then steamed into Malheur and killed Malheur as well. He was immobilised by Saruman in that. He's a big target. People, even though his stat line's not that much better than like other trolls, people see him as more of a threat, I think, because of his size, like physical size on the board. So that's quite fun, because he's cool to use. It's a good fun model to push around. I then, in the last game, I played Crispin Farbrother, who had 5 trolls, which was fantastic. He had a Mordor Troll Chieftain, an Isengard Troll, and 3 Mordor Trolls. And Trolly McTrollface was responsible for the death of 3 of those trolls. Now, I'm going to qualify this. I was actually quite worried about him because the Mordor Trolls fight 7 as well, and I didn't want to risk my own troll. The 4th wound is a really, really good benefit in that, because you can rush into another troll with a chance of killing it, guaranteed, with the guarantee that your troll can't die, because that troll can only do the 3 wounds back to you because they're 3 attacks. That's a really great safety blanket. But on 2 of those trolls he killed, I have to admit, I was worried about the fight 7, and Bulg went in as well, and Piercing Struck. Not Piercing Struck, Heroic Struck, so that the higher fight value won it. So the troll wasn't necessarily the thing that killed. It wasn't just because of the troll that he beat these trolls, but then the Crushing Club, you know, needing he could rend, couldn't he? No, he couldn't rend, because if he rendered he wouldn't get the Crushing Club bonus. But I think he needed 5s to do strength 7. 5s against the Gundabad troll, managed against the Mordor troll, got 2, D3 wounds, dead. And if you trapped, even more D3 wounds, is glorious. And then in the kind of penultimate turn, he ran into another Mordor troll one-on-one, lost the fight, but only took 2 wounds, survived, went back in the next turn, won the fight, and killed him with his club. And that's very, very cool, I guess. You know, I was kind of aiming for trolls kind of thematically, but it was quite good fun. Against Tom Seacombe, he was great. He charged into some goblins and was hurling them about, Goblin Town goblins, killing loads of them, and he ended up charging in and killing the big troll of the 3 trolls, Bill, Butt and Tom, I guess. Whichever one. It's not Tom, is it? Well, it might be Tom because they're all named wrong, but one of those. So he was great. He was I found him that certainly with the Crushing Club, he's like a monster killer, and you want to chuck him into your enemies, kind of big beasties, and get that club to just take them out in one. But all that said, fight 7 is great, and it was really good against the Isengard trolls, but you are at risk against, you know, the other trolls, got Mordor trolls, and there's a fair bit of fight 7 out there. You can't kind of chuck him into anything entirely carefree, if that makes sense. You know, you still have to be careful with him. He's not this kind of, I think because of his size, you kind of want to go, oh, he'll take that. But actually, with the Mordor trolls, they're completely even in terms of chances of winning. So, yeah, that was my experience. But most importantly, I loved using him. It was great. It's always great using your new models. The last thing you've painted on in a game. That's always good fun and very satisfying. But he was really, really good fun to use, and he looked great on the table. He's a very, very intimidating model. So, so yeah. So the debate, really, I mean, there's a few debates, but is do you take 2 ogres or do you take 1 Gundabad troll? In my arm, it's 1,000 points. I had Bolg, Azog, a troll, and 2 ogres, and my thinking was always that the 2 ogres provide the double threat. And so I think maybe if you can only afford 120 points on monsters, I think you go for 2 ogres personally, because then you get the 2 things that have to immobilise, the 2 hurls. But then once you go up to enough points, I think I would go for one of these trolls rather than another 2 ogres, to add that fight 7 element into your army and to add the Crushing Club. I think the Scything Gauntlets are great and they'll make him slightly more destructive, but the Crushing Club gives him a real USP, something different in the army as a real kind of monster killer, like where you can effectively team in with just a Gundabad captain who might be able to heroic strike and take out something scary in one go quite reliably. So yeah, I think now the Crushing Club is the better option, and I think they are worth including. Worth saying, I was at an 80-point tournament. It wasn't particularly filthy, except for, you know, some people. And there weren't too many wizards floating around. They're still everything I've just said is absolutely caveated against the same problem that trolls normally have. They're not. He's not overly competitive. You know, if you go to a 100-point tournament, he's not going to win it you're probably not going to win it with him, because he's just going to be immobilised by one of the 2 casters you'll face on every single turn. But I'm assuming that we know this about trolls. Trolls are not the most competitive thing in the game, and so if we're going to be taking them, it's because we don't particularly care about competing that much. But I think he's good, and I think he adds a nice extra dimension to Azog's Legion's armies, and most importantly, he's just cool. The model's awesome. It's been a great project that I've really enjoyed working on, and I'm really happy with the results. So I expect Trolly McTrollface to make a lot of appearances for me and my Azog's Legion army coming up. So there we go. That's the end of my Gundabad Troll unboxing, assembly, painting and tactics vlog. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's taken over a month, which I imagine, I always find this quite surreal that I've been recording this for nearly 5 weeks, but you just watch it in one block. But yeah, it's been going on for nearly a month, but really enjoyed it, and I'm so utterly enthused, as I said when I was painting, when I was showing you the finished version, that I'm going to do another one right away, and that one is Stumpy! I am going to be painting up next Stumpy the Troll Brute. Oh yeah. Tom was good enough to pick this guy up for me at the UK Games Expo, is that what it was? Before he was out, which is cool. But yeah, he's going to be my next project, and I'm going to film one of these for them. So if you thought this was an absolutely awful idea and you hated it, please let me know in the comments below so that I can stop doing the next one. But the likelihood is that as you're watching this, I have started to unbox and assemble and paint even maybe this guy, Stumpy the Troll Brute. And so another one of these vlogs is in progress, and will probably be out, being utterly honest, in about the same time, probably in about a month or so. But look out for that, and I hope you enjoy them. Hope you've enjoyed this. Please let me know what you think of my troll and the troll profile, and maybe you've done a Gundabad troll and all that sort of stuff in the comments below. It's always great to hear from you, and it's nice to be making some content again for the channel. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. How's this go? Support your Hobbit host by clicking the links below. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Support your Hobbit hobby, and happy strategy battle gaming.